It was a 2-hour documentary that aired on HBO last night and is streaming now on HBO Go. It's called The Scheme. It focuses in on the so-called Adidas investigation and trials that took place in 2017, 18, and 19 that allegedly was going to upend all of college basketball. College basketball was supposed to be shaken by its core by this investigation. If you remember, state prosecutors in New York charged 10 men, including a handful of high-ranking college basketball assistant coaches, with defrauding universities by accepting bribes to steer players to the sports agency Lloyd Management. If you've been watching this show, I was a critic of this probe. I didn't like it in real time because I thought it targeted the absolute wrong people. I thought that it was making criminals of people who allegedly were giving cash to players and families and who allegedly were doing something so unethical that it was worthy of making them a felon. I didn't like it in real time and was a critic of the probe in 2017, 18, and 19 when the convictions came in. The government's case was built on a sting operation the FBI executed on a 20-something up-and-coming agent by the name of Christian Dawkins. Dawkins had built relationships with a wide range of college coaches, including most prominently Arizona's Sean Miller, Louisville's Rick Pitino, LSU's Will Wade. They took the brunt of the criticism and were thrown in the headlines during this investigation. The FBI probe was supposed to change the face of college basketball. What it wound up doing is turning a handful of mostly black assistant basketball coaches into felons and ruining their lives. I want you guys to look at these picture collages we're showing you right now. That's who got convicted of felonies for allegedly accepting bribes during this college basketball thing. And again, I want you not just on the black assistants, and that is what bothered me and triggered me, but also there's a white guy photo shown in these photos named Jim Gatto. He worked for Adidas. I said in real time when this was going on, Jim Gatto was thrown in and targeted to cover up the fact that they were actually targeting a bunch of black assistant coaches and they didn't want to look racist, so they threw Jim Gatto in from Adidas and put a felony on him. This whole thing was preposterous from the very beginning. The Scheme documentary intentionally exposes the fraudulence of the government's case in NCAA amateurism and unintentionally exposes the naivety and stupidity of Christian Dawkins. The Scheme is told from Dawkins' point of view. It features Dawkins, his mama, his daddy, his lawyer, Steve Haney, and Yahoo's Dan Wetzel. The Scheme should be called, in my view, A.G.E, age, ambition, greed, and ego. Those three qualities, ambition, greed, and ego, in my view, explain Christian Dawkins. The doc ended with Christian Dawkins' mom reading a letter her son wrote as a teenager comparing himself to Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Steve Jobs, Jay-Z, and a bunch of other people. Throughout the documentary, Dawkins kept referring to others as idiots. But it was Dawkins whose first attempt to become an agent ended with him getting in trouble for misusing a player's credit card for $50,000 worth of Uber rides. That was on Dawkins. His next attempt to become an agent ended with the Adidas trial. Trying to start a sports agency, Christian Dawkins ran afoul of the law twice before the age of 25. That's quite impressive, especially when you consider the Adidas trial and the FBI investigation were set off when another man, Marty Belzer, was looking for a useful idiot to get him out of trouble for stealing a bunch of money from a bunch of innocent victims. Blazer identified Dawkins as the useful idiot who could set him free. The scheme explains, the documentary explains that Blazer, not the FBI or the state prosecutors in New York, Blazer came up with the scheme to lure Dawkins into bribing college basketball coaches and calling it a crime. The Adidas trial and the FBI probe were driven by a common criminal looking to get away with his latest crime by a government, not by a government, not by state prosecutors trying to do the right thing. A common criminal set all this into motion. No one dislikes the NCAA and its amateurism fraud more than I do. But to me, Christian Dawkins was given a record company deal and this one-sided documentary that's supposed to enhance his image as a payoff for refusing to take a plea agreement and refusing to snitch on big-name college coaches. HBO's The Scheme was not unlike, or was a lot like, the Tiger King, the Netflix documentary that's popular right now. You couldn't find any good people on camera. No one involved in this documentary set themselves up as a good person or a hero. NCAA amateurism creates fraudulence and caters to people driven by ambition, greed, and ego. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.